Good afternoon, Mrs. Starlina. What brings you in today?
I've been dealing with a lot of anxiety and depression.
Okay, we offer services for that. But before we do that, we need to do some paperwork. So I'm going to be working with you today to do a initial interview checklist, which is an intake. They're going to ask questions like your date of birth, place of birth, home address, marital status, children, employment, education, and who referred you. Also, they're going to ask your insurance status if you have insurance. And in our conversation on the phone, you told me that you had Medicare and TRICARE. Is that still correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll take down that information for the commercial policy and the Medicare policy, as well as your social security number. And we're also going to need an emergency contact. I think you said you wanted to put your husband as an emergency contact.
Yes.
Okay. We're also going to ask you to sign a consent for release of confidential information in case you need to be hospitalized or something happens to you. We're going to need this document as part of your package. All right, now I'm going to go over the client's rights with you. As a client of Recovery Management Center, you are entitled to the following rights. Just bear with me, this will be over shortly. You have the right to be treated with dignity and respect no matter of age, race, or sexual orientation. You have the right to participate in professional development and of the treatment plan. You have the right to have your complaints dealt with fairly and impartially, and the right to not allow this to affect your care. If you have any questions about these rights, just stop me and we'll answer them. You have the right to have your cultural identity respected. You have the right to inform in order to make informed consent about services that are recommended. You have the right to equal access to all services. You have the right to have your complaints dealt with fairly and impartially, as the right to not allow this to affect your care. You also have the right to confidentiality. Exceptions to confidentiality rules are going to be as follows. So with every part of confidentiality, there's going to be some things that we would have to mandatorily report, and I'll go over those with you. If an individual's in danger or a danger to themselves or I have to report it to the authorities. So what that means is if you have any suicidal ideation or you have a plan, like you say, I'm going to go home and use this and do this to end my life, I would have to report that. If child abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse has been suspected, I'll have to report that as well to the authorities. Also, if there's a medical emergency, I'll have to report that to the authorities to get you the necessary help that you need. If there is a court order from the agency to inform them of the client's progress. So if you're in the system for a DUI or drug court and they subpoena the records, we would have to give them to the courts. And last but not least, if you sign the release of information that will allow me to disclose the information to other agencies or your husband. Next, we have grievances. At the Recovery Management Center, you have the right to log a grievance or a complaint against any staff member or volunteer, including but not limited to complaints of abuse, neglect, and exploitation. Upon admission to this program, clients shall be informed of the right to seek remedy for any complaints. You may complain directly to any staff member. However, we suggest you start with your primary counselor, which would be me. You may submit the complaint verbally or in writing. You may have assistance in writing your complaint if you're unable to write. Paper, pens, envelopes, postage, and access to a telephone will be provided regardless of the phase, level, or restrictions upon request in order to file a complaint. So, any client dissatisfied with the outcome of their complaint will be provided consultation with the Recovery Management Center Director, who will review, acknowledge the complaint. Clients will be kept informed of the findings and recommendations regarding their complaint. At any point during the grievance process, clients may grieve directly with the New Mexico Counseling and Therapy Board, and I'll give you their address if you need it. Orientation. I would like to welcome you to the Recovery Management Center outpatient program. We realize this is a difficult time for you and hope to make the move into treatment as easy as possible for everyone involved. In order to help you, we'll share with you a little bit about our program, what to expect throughout the program, and you'll be assigned a therapist that has specific qualifications tailored to your needs. The therapist will also collaborate with other agencies upon assigned consent so that we can talk to the other agencies that will provide other services that our programs are not able to provide for you, like getting on the emergency housing list, food stamps, Medicare, stuff like that. We can assign you a case manager, and the case manager would help you to get those benefits going upon the signature of the release of consent. Your treatment team will consist of yourself, your immediate family, your therapist, and other community agencies that may be involved. The clinical supervisor oversees that your treatment goals are accomplished. So me and you are going to work together to come up with a treatment plan, and we'll have short-term goals and long-term goals, and we'll work on those goals together in therapy during treatment. Your family may also play an important part in your treatment and in determining when you might be ready to get discharged from the program. They may also be asked to attend treatment team meetings, so they may provide any ideas that will help you progress towards your recovery.
Stop it, Max. I'm gonna do something with them.
This plan will be reviewed by your therapist to see how your treatment progress is going. There may be treatment meetings to discuss what is working in your treatment plan and what isn't working. In the meeting, we'll also discuss what needs to change to ensure your success. Your success is our top priority. Client behavior. I preserve the right to dignity and welfare of all clients. The following behaviors will not be accepted during therapy sessions: engage in physical or violent abuse, to engage in demanding or verbal abuse, to engage in direct or indirect sexual conduct, to be in possession of alcohol or drugs, to give away or offer for sale any alcohol or drugs. the use of alcohol or non-prescribed drugs, to bring into the office a knife or any other instrument deemed by staff to be a potential instrument of harm to self or others. As you know, some people like to self-harm themselves with razor blades and pins and knives. So obviously, we can discuss that in the therapy session, but you can't bring that into the building. Failure to disclose the appropriate staff member any knowledge of the above could be rules and reasons for termination. So we're going to give you an orientation and consent of treatment form, and it says, I've been provided information about the programs, services, and treatment process. I've been provided the name of my primary counselor, which will be me, Mr. Garcia. Exceptions for client participation and the client's right to grievance procedures. We just went over that. Consent to treatment. That you agreed to Recovery Management Center to be the treatment provider for all understood co-occurring disorders. That includes substance use disorder and any type of mental disorders. Also, we have a family involvement and treatment form. If you want your family to be involved in treatment, your husband, your kids, your mother, your father, anybody in your direct family will need you to sign this consent so that we can talk to them. And finally, we have the HIPAA Notice of Privacy Practices that we go by. HIPAA requires that we describe for you our medical privacy practices and your rights as a client under the law. This information is posted in the waiting room where you can clearly see it. Client responsibilities. All clients are responsible for providing, whenever possible, any information for continuing care, as providers need to provide the client with quality care. All clients are responsible for understanding their health problems and shall participate in developing a mutually agreed upon treatment plan. All clients are responsible for respecting their providers by keeping, changing, and canceling appointments instead of a no-show. So if you're going to not make the appointment, please give us a call and we'll reschedule you. Also, I have a consent to telephonic counseling. If you can't make an appointment, we can do it over the phone, or we can do it over the computer with telehealth. We finally have an authorization to release or receive protected health information. So this authorization would help us if we needed to get your medical records to look up some type of family history of mental illness or substance abuse. Finally, we have a depression survey that we're going to ask you to answer 20 questions. And then we have an adverse childhood experience ACE questionnaire. And then we have a PTSD checklist, and I'll be able to work with you and help you fill these checklists out.
Okay.
Finally, we have a craft questionnaire. It's version 2.1, and that will just help us to understand if there's any alcohol abuse or drug abuse. Do you have any questions for me at this time?
No.
Okay. I'm gonna schedule you for the first appointment to be Tuesday at 11 o'clock. Is that fine with you?
Double check my calendar. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, as soon as I get the intake packet filled out from you, I'll see you next Tuesday at 11 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.